Okay, let's now work through an entire example of a company utilizing process costing and specifically utilizing the weighted average method. And we are going to look specifically at one single work in process department. Okay? Kellogg Company has produced Eggo waffles since 1970, and they have 3 departments that produce these waffles. The first department is the mixing department. The second department is the baking department, and the third department is freezing and packaging. The mixing department combines the dry ingredients, including the flour, the salt, the baking powder, with liquid ingredients, including eggs and vegetable oil, in order to make the waffle batter. Here is the information regarding the mixing department and the number of units that were already in production from the prior period, plus what was started in this period, and then what was finished in this period, and what still remains in work in process in the mixing department. All right, so let's take a look at the data. Regarding physical units, these are actual quantities or physical pieces of waffle, okay? This is not the equivalent units. This is actual physical quantity units. All right, so we've got work in process June 1, 100,000 waffles. Where did this work in process 100,000 waffles come from? This is waffles that were still in process in the mixing department in May. Okay, so at May 31st, 11:59 p.m., there were still some waffles being mixed up. 100,000 waffles worth of mix. All right, so it would still be here at 12:01 a.m. on June 1st. We started into production another 800,000 waffles in the month of June. Okay, so we added in direct materials for 800,000 more waffles into production process in the mixing department in the month of June. Therefore, if we add these two quantities together, 100,000 plus 800,000, then we have 900,000 total physical units. Now we're going to take this a step further because, again, we've got to try to figure out what is the cost related to the number of waffles, the mix of them, that needs to be transferred on to the next department. And then what is the cost related to any waffles, the mix thereof, that is not 100% complete yet. But that's why it's still here in work in process. So we've got to calculate out what's still here and what's gone, and also assign costs to those quantities. All right, so 700,000 of the 900,000 were 100% of the way completed in the month of June and transferred on to the next department, while the remaining 200,000 units of the 900,000 are still here in work in process in the mixing department. All right, so if we add those two numbers together, it does in fact check off the 900,000. So we had 900,000 to account for, and we've got 900,000 accounted for, okay? But notice that 700,000 is what is transferred out, while 200,000 are still here. The second part of information, you need to make sure that you understand what's going on here. Now, when we talk about materials, we are going to keep it really simple in this class, and we are going to use the assumption that whenever we have product placed into work in process, that we are immediately going to put all of the materials required for them in the process at the beginning. So with that said, 100% or all of the direct materials are being put in at the beginning of the period or when those items are put into production. So regarding work in process, the 100,000 units that have been here since May, they already have 100% of their materials in play when they came over from May. And then we have started into production those 800,000 units. Those also have 100% of their materials, okay, because of the assumption that we're using. Now, let's talk now about conversion cost, because the conversion cost, again, is your direct labor and your manufacturing overhead elements. And this is where it gets a little tricky because we've got to calculate equivalent units, specifically for divvying up the conversion cost. We have got 100,000 units that came over from May that were only 70% of the way converted. Therefore, they need to be converted the rest of the way. And at the end of the month, we are leaving 200,000 units, and they are only converted 60% of the way. So we're going to utilize this information to come up with how far our number needs to go as far as equivalent units. Again, looking at our equivalent units of production, we need to consider